So yes, she does have the prenup, even though he waited to the very last second to sign it. But also, there is room for him to try and contest it in court. Now, we don't know if they had a postnup signed. We only know about the prenup. We also don't know if they're separated or for how long. But we know at the very least they were married for 10 years. In those 10 plus years, they had 2 children. They also have multiple businesses together. The messiest part of a divorce is the division of the assets every single time. And they have a...
You're not gonna believe how deep this goes. After 10 years of marriage, 2 kids, multiple businesses, and a picture-perfect public image, Kandi Burruss has officially filed for divorce, and the internet is already screaming, "We saw this coming." Because the moment she stepped out with no ring, wiped Tucker from her bio, and dropped a solo statement about protecting her peace, old rumors about Todd's secret nightlife exploded back to the surface. And now, fans are connecting something even wilder. All those stories about Todd allegedly creeping around under a fake name Marvin, the late-night clubbing, the New Jersey condo he used like a bachelor pad, and the women claiming he was moving like a single man behind Kandi's back, suddenly, it doesn't feel like reality TV drama anymore. It feels like receipts. It feels like the truth fans suspected for years finally caught up to him. Because once you line up the prenup drama, the ego issues, the therapy confessions, the rumors of cheating, and the alleged Marvin lifestyle, this divorce doesn't look sudden at all. It looks inevitable. Once fans started piecing together the timeline, it became obvious this divorce wasn't some overnight shock. The cracks started forming long before the public caught on,
I'm pretty sure they have the restaurants, they have their production company. I think it was just announced they're producing another show on Broadway. They had the trucking business that, fell through. I also wouldn't be surprised if they own a couple properties in real estate. Also, if we're gonna be honest, Kandi most definitely was out earning Todd. So there more than likely is gonna be a possibility he's gonna try and get spousal support. And there will be a back and forth on child support because their kids are in single digits. Ace is 9, and I believe Blaze is 5. And her solo statement to people just tells me that it's going to be...
But lived in very different worlds. Phaedra Parks was actually the first to point Todd out, calling him cute, articulate, and down-to-earth, the kind of guy who might fit well into Kandi's life. But even in those early days, the balance between them was tilted. Kandi was established, powerful, financially secure. Todd was still climbing, still finding his lane, still becoming the man he wanted to be. That didn't stop the connection, though. In South Africa, something clicked. The long conversations, the quiet moments away from the cameras, the spark that felt real enough to follow back home. But while Todd was content keeping things casual, Kandi made it clear she didn't have time for halfway love. She told him exactly what she wanted, and that pressure pushed him into taking the relationship seriously faster than he might have planned. And when dating between cast and crew became impossible to hide, she encouraged him to leave his job altogether so they could be together openly. That move set the tone for the rest of their relationship. She opened the doors, and he stepped through. But even as their bond grew, other people were raising eyebrows, and the first person to idea what storms were forming behind closed doors. On camera, Kandi and Todd still smiled, still worked together, still looked strong enough to survive anything. But underneath the image, the foundation was already shifting. And the rumors, the late-night outings, the club appearances, the mysterious New Jersey condo, and the whispered name Marvin were just beginning their climb back into the spotlight. As time passed, the distance between Kandi and Todd didn't shrink. It grew in ways neither one wanted to admit out loud. The deeper their lives became tangled with businesses, kids, filming schedules, and non-stop public attention, the harder it became for them to actually find each other in the middle of all that noise. And while Kandi kept building her empire brick by brick, Todd started drifting into patterns that looked less like a husband under pressure and more like a man trying to escape something he couldn't say out loud. Things shifted even more when Kandi opened up about their struggles starting a family. After months of tension and barely any intimacy, they eventually reconnected physically long enough to welcome their son Ace in 2016. But instead of bringing them closer, parenthood seemed to highlight every emotional gap they had tried so hard to bury. And by the time their daughter arrived through a surrogate in 2019, the cracks had widened into something that felt almost permanent. Todd admitted publicly that he didn't feel an immediate bond with their daughter. That kind of honesty is real and vulnerable, but the problem wasn't the confession, it was how he handled the feelings behind it. Less than a week after the baby came home, Kandi called him out for staying out at the clubs 2 nights in a row, even staying out until morning right after Thanksgiving. And to someone who was juggling kids, work, and the emotional weight of carrying the entire family's stability, that move didn't feel like stress. It felt like avoidance. People run when they don't know how to deal with what's happening inside them. They look for places where the pressure disappears, even if it's just for a couple hours under neon lights. And Todd seemed to run straight toward that pattern. He wasn't connecting at home, he wasn't finding peace in the relationship, and he wasn't feeling grounded as a father. So he slipped into environments where nobody needed anything from him, and where validation came easy. That's where the whispers about his nightlife started picking up again, and soon the internet was repeating the same rumor that had been floating around for years. When Todd went out, he allegedly introduced himself as a completely different name, Marvin. The story originally popped up during the cast drama when Portia Williams claimed Todd was hooking up with women behind Kandi's back and telling them his name was Marvin, so nothing could be traced to him. It was messy then, and it sounded even messier now that their marriage was clearly falling apart. And the New Jersey condo didn't help his case. Todd had owned that place long before Kandi, but the way he used it during their marriage raised eyebrows. According to Kandi, whenever Todd traveled to New York, he would stay at that condo, hang out with friends nonstop, and live like he didn't have a wife and kids waiting for him back home. She even admitted on camera that she sometimes worried he might be unfaithful. And once fans heard that, the Marvin rumors morphed from a reality TV joke into a storyline people couldn't ignore. Whether any of those allegations were true or exaggerated didn't even matter anymore. What mattered was how many pieces seemed to fit together once you looked at the full timeline. The late-night club runs, the emotional distance, the secret condo, the name-switching accusations, the constant feeling that Todd was living 2 different lives, one as Kandi's husband and business partner, and one as a man who slipped into the night to be someone else entirely. Meanwhile, Kandi was doing what she always does, working, planning, building, and pushing forward. But even her ambitions started becoming part of the problem. During one of their therapy sessions, Todd admitted he felt like everything revolved around Kandi, her career, her schedule, her spotlight. He said he rearranged his entire life to be with her, stepped into her world, walked away from his old job, and still didn't feel like she ever met him halfway. To him, it felt like he was orbiting around her life instead of sharing it. Then he dropped an even deeper truth, the kind of confession that changes how people see everything. He said he kept taking on new business ventures to impress Kandi's fans and her mother, Mama Joyce. He said he became a business entity because everybody praises the man who brings in money. But behind all that work and pressure, he was miserable. He said he wasn't happy, not with himself, not with his role, not with the way he felt overlooked. That admission hit hard because it revealed the emotional weight he had been carrying for years. But it also showed why the marriage had started feeling less like a partnership and more like a corporation, where every moment was about productivity, image, deadlines, or logistics. The love was still there, somewhere under the surface, but it was buried under a decade of misunderstandings and silent resentment. Things got even more complicated when Kandi admitted publicly that they had experimented with bringing other women into their bedroom. They weren't shy about it either. They said it openly, multiple times, and Kandi even shared that they had done it within the last 6 months. For some couples, that kind of arrangement works. But when a relationship is already struggling, trying to spice things up with a third person is like trying to tape together a broken mirror. It might distract you for a moment, but the cracks are still there, sharp and impossible to ignore. And once the excitement fades, you're left facing the same issues you tried to outrun. That's exactly where Kandi and Todd found themselves. Still drifting, still misaligned, still pretending the spark was enough to keep them going. The truth is, they were carrying years' worth of unspoken disappointment, bruised egos, competing priorities, and secrets that never fully disappeared. And for fans who had been paying attention, the signs of a split weren't surprising at all. The writing wasn't just on the wall, it had been blinking like a warning light for years. By the time the public started noticing something was off, the marriage had already been drifting for years. Fans didn't need a press release to know things had changed. They felt it in the awkward energy during interviews, the stiff body language in photos, and the way Todd slowly faded into the background of Kandi's life while her spotlight kept getting brighter. But the moment everything snapped into focus was when Kandi showed up to BravoCon alone, glowing on stage, receiving her Lifetime Achievement Award with grace and strength, yet noticeably without her ring. People didn't know it yet, but the shift had already begun. And the way Kandi carried herself that night hinted at something she had been wrestling with silently behind the scenes. Not long after, fans noticed she had quietly removed Tucker from her social media bio, and that tiny detail set the internet on fire. Blind items that floated around for months suddenly resurfaced with new meaning. People started connecting dots, remembering old hints, and realizing the marriage wasn't just struggling, it might be over. But while the public was just now catching up, Kandi had been sitting with the truth for much longer. She had been the one holding the family together, balancing business, parenting, filming, employees, deadlines, and public scrutiny, while still trying to nurture a partnership that felt like it was slipping through her fingers. And Todd? He seemed to be living in two worlds, torn between wanting to stand beside a powerful woman and battling the insecurities that came with that spotlight. Their therapy sessions made the emotional disconnect painfully clear. Kandi admitted the intimacy had faded so much that it felt like they were roommates some days. The warmth that made their early relationship feel alive was gone, replaced by schedules, resentment, and silence. And Todd opened up about feeling overlooked, unappreciated, and pressured to constantly prove himself to everyone around Kandi. But what fans didn't realize was that while Kandi was trying to bring them back to center, Todd was quietly drifting outward. He threw himself into new projects, new ventures, new ideas, anything that made him feel productive. Yet none of it fixed the emptiness he carried. It just turned their marriage into a non-stop business operation, where every conversation was about logistics instead of love. And every time Todd escaped into the nightlife, those old allegations gained new momentum. The clubs, the condo trips, the nights out until morning, they all fed the narrative that Todd had a life separate from the one he shared with Kandi. The name Marvin became more than a funny cast moment, it became symbolic. It represented the version of Todd people believed existed when the cameras weren't rolling. Even if the truth was somewhere in the middle, perception matters. And the perception was that Todd wasn't showing up for his wife emotionally, romantically, or consistently. The fact that he admitted to struggling with attachment after their daughter's birth only intensified the sense that he was pulling away instead of leaning in. Meanwhile, Kandi kept moving. She hosted shows, launched new businesses, filmed multiple series, produced projects, and kept growing her empire. She pushed herself in ways most people can't imagine, but with that success came a cost. She was always in motion, always in demand, always responsible for so much. Much more than herself. And Todd felt like a passenger in that journey instead of a partner. When their tension finally boiled over in one of their most emotional therapy sessions, Todd confessed something that lingered in the minds of fans long after the episode aired. He said he felt like he walked away from his old life to step into hers, but he was never sure if she stepped into his. He wanted her to slow down, to make space for their family, to choose them with the same intensity she chose her work. But here's the part that hit the hardest. Kandi thought she already was. She thought she was showing up, being present, giving love, and creating opportunities for them to grow together. In her mind, building their empire was for both of them and their kids, but Todd experienced it as something that pulled her away instead of bringing them closer. Two people, two perspectives, and a decade of misunderstandings between them. That's how marriages fall apart, quietly, slowly, and painfully, long before anyone files paperwork. So when Kandi finally broke her silence and released her statement about protecting her peace and focusing on co-parenting with love and respect, it wasn't a sudden decision. It was the ending she had been walking toward for a long time, step by step, heartbreak by heartbreak, until she realized she couldn't carry both the marriage and her sanity anymore. And while fans were still debating what went wrong, something even more shocking came next. Something that made people dig deeper into the rumors about Todd's double life and question whether the man the cameras showed was the same man Kandi lived with behind closed doors. Once the divorce news hit the internet, everything people had been ignoring, downplaying, or laughing off suddenly looked like a clue they missed. Blind items that seemed vague at the time now read like warnings. Old interviews felt heavier. Even small details from their social media posts looked like cracks in the foundation. And the more fans revisited the past, the clearer it became that this split didn't come out of nowhere. It was the final chapter of a story that had been unwinding for years. That's when the Marvin rumors came roaring back stronger than ever. The idea that Todd had a whole different vibe whenever he stepped out without Kandi became symbolic of a larger issue, the version of himself he didn't feel he could be inside the marriage. People remembered the New Jersey condo, the nights out, the club appearances, the women who claimed he introduced himself under a different name, and suddenly everything clicked into place like puzzle pieces fans ignored until it was too late. Even if some stories were exaggerated or embellished, the pattern was too consistent to overlook. Todd never fully seemed comfortable in Kandi's world, and instead of communicating that honestly, he drifted into spaces where he could disconnect from the pressure, the expectations, and the constant comparisons. Those escapes might have felt harmless in the moment, but they slowly pulled him further and further away from the home he helped build. And from Kandi's side, it must have felt like living with a man who was physically present but emotionally somewhere else. She had carried the relationship, the kids, the businesses, the public image, the family tensions, and the never-ending workload. She kept showing up, kept smiling, kept working, kept trying to keep the family's ship steady. But even the strongest person can only hold everything together for so long before they realize they're standing alone. When Kandi stepped out at that event without her ring, it wasn't a fashion choice. When she removed Tucker from her bio, it wasn't a mistake. When she posted her statement about protecting her peace and co-parenting with love, it wasn't sudden. It was the moment she finally chose herself. It was the moment she stopped trying to fix a marriage that had already slipped into survival mode. And it was the moment fans understood that the love story everyone rooted for had reached its natural end. What made the breakup even more shocking was how different their public narrative had always been. They looked like a couple who worked hard, built together, hustled together, and made every opportunity count. But behind that image was a painful truth. The relationship that once felt like a strong partnership had become a quiet war neither one had the tools to win. Todd admitted he felt overlooked, pressured, misunderstood, and drained. Kandi felt unsupported, unloved, and forced to navigate the emotional weight of the family alone. They tried therapy. They tried bringing excitement back into the bedroom. They tried new routines, new conversations, new approaches. But sometimes a relationship is so exhausted that no amount of trying can resuscitate what's already gone. And that's why fans weren't surprised when the divorce became official. As sad as it was, it made sense. It explained the distance. It explained the silence. It explained the awkward energy that had been creeping into their on-screen moments. And it explained why Kandi looked lighter, calmer, and more centered the moment she stepped into the world without the weight of trying to save something that was hurting her. The truth is, two people can love each other deeply and still reach a point where staying together causes more damage than walking away. And that's exactly what this divorce represents. Not failure, but freedom. Not an ending, but a reset. Kandi and Todd both get to rediscover who they are outside of a marriage that drained them more than it fulfilled them. And in that sense, this split might be the most honest decision either of them has made in years. Now, with the world watching, they'll head into their next chapter separately, co-parenting, healing, rebuilding, and figuring out who they want to be without the noise, the pressure, and the weight of expectations. And while Fans will keep talking, speculating, and analyzing every detail. The truth is simple. The writing was there all along. They just finally stopped pretending they didn't see it. So now that everything is finally out in the open, I want to hear from you. Do you think Todd's alleged Marvin lifestyle played the biggest role in the downfall of this marriage? Or was this relationship already too damaged to save long before the rumors ever started? And do you see Kandi stepping into an even stronger era now that she's choosing her peace over carrying a partnership alone? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because you already know I'm reading every single one. And before you go, make sure you hit like, share this video, and subscribe so you never miss the next time a story like this breaks wide open. Turn on your notifications too, because the drama in Hollywood and reality TV never sleeps, and neither do we. I'll see you in the next one.